Hello there, next issue listeners and watchers. Daniel here again. So today I'm bringing you this video. We just wrapped up WandaVision and the TV, and this is not about that, so there's no spoilers here or anything. I'm making this video because I want to give now some comic book recommendations of like if you want to keep reading more about the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff. So today I'll be just going over a few things that I feel are pretty cool comics to read about Wanda. But if you have any recommendations, put them down in the comments. Let me know. Hit me up on Twitter. You can see my thing at Echo Spider there. So okay, so let's talk a little bit about comic books that I recommend you read if you want to keep reading more of Scarlet Witch. So first of all, Scarlet Witch was created in 1964. Her first appearance was in X-Men #4, created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. Um, this is the introduction of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. If you're not familiar with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, this is Magneto's group of mutants, where you can see here both Wanda and Pietro are part of. She did have a different outfit back then. She was not on in Scarlet yet, but pretty soon she would come to change that outfit, and even she would stop being a villain. Uh, like a lot of these villains go back and forth, but Wanda, she became an Avenger eventually, which takes us to our next recommendation, Giant Size Avengers #4. This issue um, ultimately leads to the wedding of Wanda and Vision. So Vision has to rescue Wanda from a character named Immortus. Um, and this pretty much kicked off a whole new era of um, comic book stories for the Scarlet Witch and Vision, in which they were a couple. They eventually had the twins. Um, but let's go to the next recommendation here. The next one is West Coast Avengers 42 through 52 from 1989. This is the Vision Quest story that played out in Avengers, in West Coast Avengers. So the Vision had just died and ended up being resurrected thanks to Hank Pym, who created Ultron, and eventually Ultron created the Vision. However, Vision's personality was different. It was no longer his personality that he had thanks to Wonder Man. Um, and then also we soon learned that his body was also not his. It was actually from the original Human Torch, the android Human Torch. Um, so Wanda has to deal with all this stuff, and it kind of leads to her also losing the twins. There's a lot going on here. This is a pretty rough story for Wanda overall. But I definitely recommend you take a look at this, especially if you watch the show. You'll know that there's a lot of moments here that are kind of mirrored or alluded to in the show. Next up, Avengers Disassembled from 2004. This takes place in the pages of Avengers 500 to 503. This was a whole new era for the Avengers, and it's about to kick it off. It was about to kick off pretty much Brian Michael Bendis taking over the Avengers and a lot of the X-Men stuff. So after Wanda's kits disappeared, Agatha Harkness kind of wiped her memories of everything from there. But now she recovered those memories. And then also, while all this is going on, somebody's trying to kill the Avengers. There's like a whole invasion thing. There's a few Avengers that don't make it, as you can see in this cover. One of these Avengers will die. And then, the story is really about how Wanda plays into all of this. So I really recommend it. It's one of those stories that really leads up to my favorite comic book event, pretty much of all time, really, which we'll cover next. So let's just move on to that. So House of M from 2005. This this is my it's probably my all-time favorite comic event. I know a lot of people may not fully be on board with this, and there's a lot going on, but I feel like it changed the comic books for so much. Like It changed so much of the comic book storytelling from 2005 until, I don't know, maybe even close to 2012, 2013. Like the effects are kind of still being felt all throughout the universe, and they've recently kind of alluded to a lot of this House of M stuff. If you're reading some of those X-Men books in the Jonathan Hickman era, so following the events of Avengers Disassembled, Wanda was kind of like really trying to figure out what's going on. There's a really cool opening scene here with all the Avengers and the X-Men trying to figure out how can they deal with Wanda. Like her powers are so strong that not even Doctor Strange can really contain it. He can only try to help her understand how to use her powers. But he doesn't fully understand them because it's not only her powers are not only the magic, the hex magic, but also her mutation really kind of twists those powers outside of just the magic realm. Um, so because of all this, because of the threat, the incoming threat to Wanda, um, an alternate reality is created where Wanda just kind of created this perfect world for mutants. So 98% of the population is mutants. There's very little people that don't have mutant powers. Mutants are the main people in charge. There's no prosecution against mutants. So if you've read this before or if you know anything about this story, you know that it leads to a very powerful ending. Actually, issue number 7 of this series is my probably all-time favorite single issue comic. I don't know, it goes back and forth, but it's really one of my favorite issues there. Um, and like I said, this has consequences for mutants and Marvel, like for many many years. This is like I said when Brian Bendis was kind of put in charge of the comics, and he was kind of leading the whole Marvel line with the Avengers and the X-Men, which really make up a lot of the X-Men world. I mean, a lot of the Marvel universe. Uh, the last comic I'll recommend, it's going to be Scarlet Witch, Volume 2 from 2015. This is a 15 issue series written by James Robinson with art by Vanessa Del Rey and Jordi Belau on colors. Uh, this book is solely about Wanda. Like it's really an exploration of her powers, her character, who she is, and what kind of drives it. Like what kind of drives Wanda to do what she do. Um, this is a very cool story. I really enjoyed this series. It's kind of standalone, so you don't really need a lot of. You don't even need to have read a lot of the stuff that I talked about before. I think it helps because it all kind of builds like all these titles that I put on this list. They kind of build on each other a little bit, and one that has so much history that it's very cool to see her growth as a character. But that's all I have for comics. Let me know, what did you think of any of these? Have you read any of these? Do you have any other stories? Um, I think there's a lot of stuff I could also name with the Young Avengers because she's very involved there, but that would be better for a list of maybe about Wiccan and Speedball, or Wiccan and Speed, who are Wanda's twins. Eventually, when they come back. Uh, but yeah, let me know in the comments below. Have you read any of these things? Do you like them? What do you think of Scarlet Witch as a character? And pretty soon in the next issue podcast, if you subscribe now here or to our podcast feed, we'll be doing a whole conversation about WandaVision, the whole series. I may even do a video about things you can read for Vision, which a lot of these titles will probably be on that list. But let me know what are the kind of videos you want to see, what characters you'd like to get some recommendations for. What are you reading? What are you currently reading? Let us know all that stuff. Remember to like, subscribe. Go check out the last video for Why the Last Man because we're doing a comics giveaway that will be ending pretty soon. You can get a digital comic. Instructions are on the description of the video. And I think that's all. That's going to be it for now. Until next time, keep reading comics.